I've done a bunch of paintings of a top-hatted man doing various things, and this kind of time and usually he's in association with this sort of antique view of New York from the 40s. In this case, he is beckoning the viewer into the painting, except that he, in the landscape, becomes sort of the polar opposite of New York City, the rural American church landscape. But it's kind of like Satan and offering the world to Jesus in a way. You know, gotta have a reason to sit around slaving over a painting. It may not mean the same thing to anybody that looks at it. This is the underpainting, and I will do the overpainting. I did the overpainting on that one yesterday and the day before, but it's still missing a bunch of cartoon art that's gonna go in there. Some backdrops that were in the form of book covers from what the what's it called, Florentine Gardens, which was a strip club, I guess, back in the 30s and 40s. And one of the books was the fountainhead. So it's, to which I added a head of a Medusa that was walking along on its snake hair, and leaving behind like a New York City of the bodies of dead warriors. This, I don't know if I have the reference materials here. It's based essentially on a Masonic mural of George Washington laying a cornerstone in a big Masonic gesture. So that's where the vast majority of the figures come from. And the figure of Trump is also based on an old political cartoon where the statue that's in front of Wall Street is this kind of obese guy who's like got his hand out looking for money. And so I've added in, like, these are Jeff Sessions, whoever that bald-headed guy that replaced him, and Attorney General Barr, and this is Stephen Miller, and this is Chris Kobach, and what's his name, the ex-CNN, now Fox business commentator, and this is what's his name, Trump's strategist from the election, who's a neo-fascist worldwide provocateur. This is Sheriff Joe Arpaio. This is the former governor of Arizona, and this was a Fox News commentator who made the mistake of saying something against Donald Trump, so became totally Trumped on. These are his ex-wives. There's 3 women kind of observing this all-male ceremony. Oh, and this is what's her name? His sort of secondary spokesman, whose husband hates Trump. And on this particular, this head on this pike is the author of the Morals and Dogma of the Freemasons, who was a Confederate general named Pike, Albert Pike, and he was supposedly, some people say he was one of the founders of the KKK, but he was a Confederate general, and except he had a band of Native Americans that were fighting on behalf of the South. I don't know how that worked out. And there's sort of lines of sight going up to the eye in the sky, etc. She's wearing a robe with the Eastern Star insignia on it. Well, this one's going to be themed on the Pandora's box, but based on the interpretation that hope was, in Greek terms, actually the worst ill that came out of Pandora's box. So there'll be these various things, and then there'll be some things like you know, Barack Obama as Hope, and Hope, Arkansas, Bill Clinton's birthplace. You know, things that didn't exactly lead to paradise, along with Bob Hope and other versions of Hope. That one, it's just, to me, that thing that woman's holding up with that washer and dryer, or washer behind her, looked like some kind of a frog monster, so I just kind of did it. And I paired it with this thing that had some forms of architectural lines that would kind of play off that. DC Comics were kind of based on coming up with a sort of a surrealist image on the cover. The guy who edited it came out of pulps, and he actually borrowed the cover image from a pulp magazine. So they had to come up with a story in which he could become a turtle monster and destroy a bridge, and none of it made any sense, but he was being controlled by some bad guy from Atlantis or something. So I made the bad guy the fish priest Dogon, and which is both a real thing and something out of what's his name, H.P. Lovecraft, the fish, the horrors of the fish people. And the fish people provided their human helpers with this kind of dingy gold from the sea. So he's shitting out gold bricks that become these turtles that form a throne. And this is the Egyptian goddess of chaos, Kek, creating chaos there. Here's another one where Jimmy Olsen becomes all of his different selves, but he's confronting the goddess of reason. It was a goddess created by the committee that was running the revolution as it was falling apart in France. So they said, we've got to have religion. So, and since they believed in reason, they came up with the goddess of reason. This one's called 1% for Art, and it's going to have a three-dimensional sculpture of a sort of normal call it a stable, Calder stable in typical red. So there'll be three-dimensional elements come out that have these wigs on them, and this is this sort of Hercules or Greek hero who's trying to cut the heads off of the Hydra, but they keep on arriving. 1% for Art being a term for what corporations had to spend on a new building, which was often done as a big sculpture. This one was sort of a companion piece to other stairway pieces that I'm probably not going to get finished, but it came out of a dream where these sort of 50s comedians were coming out of this stairway out of the wall. It was kind of like a horn of plenty. In this case, I've got them sort of like Egyptian figures holding radios, even though they're TV comedians. It doesn't exactly make sense, but and they'll be transparent. Anything that's transparent, I basically have to do 100% of the painting on. She's holding this roll of toilet paper, so she's sort of in front of a tree that could become toilet paper.